Welcome to Inside IT Automation, a ScriptRunner production.
Yeah, so here we are with another Inside IT Automation on tour episode at the PSConfEU 2024 in the beautiful city of Antwerp. And, I have Guy Leech with me, so thanks a lot for taking the time during a very busy day, I guess, with all the sessions and things like that.
Today's a bit easier than the others, and I haven't got the pressure of having to worry about my sessions now that I've delivered both of them.
So you're relaxed?
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, and let's keep it like this, I would say.
Okay, that's good.
Is it okay? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I like that.
So, any feedback on the conference so far? What do you think?
Yeah, somebody did get their microphone too close to their speaker, so there was a bit of feedback, but... feedback, right, sorry.
Yeah, I didn't... Are you in the audio engineering world as well? Frequencies and stuff like that?
No, not often. No, it's the first one I've been to because I was supposed to present at the one in Vienna 2 years ago, but I got this.
You decided to fell sick.
Yeah, I got this COVID thing because my travel.
I heard about it,
which is I think it affected a few people around the world.
Yeah.
So I missed
mainly
out
rumors, I think, actually.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
No such thing. Joke.
Yes.
And so my first one, and it's just blown my mind. It's like. First of all, I didn't realise there'd be so many people.
Okay.
250 plus people.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was that many people in the world using PowerShell. Although, a number of followers I've got, and I suspect my followers on Twitter, or X as I should call it now, are probably because of my content on the tech side, I would hope. Probably not my dad jokes, because they are.
I'm pretty sure it's a good mixture of both of it.
I don't know, but I'd like to think it's for the tech content. But just seeing so many people and be able to talk to so many of them and learn from people, but both in terms of just the networking outside of the sessions and in the sessions themselves. I've learned lots of things as well. It's like, nobody knows everything. Well, if somebody thinks they know everything, they're either mistaken or they're an idiot, I would say.
Very likely, yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely don't know everything. I keep forgetting things as well, but that's old age. You'll find that when you get old.
Tell me about it. Yeah, so any specific session that you said, wow, that was really
there was one on error handling, and it's like, I'm doing error. And even though I preach error handling to people, because I see so many scripts where people say, do this, then do this, then do this. But what if that fails? Because if that fails, then there's no point doing that. Yeah. And what you end up with if you don't abort when there's a failure is a whole load of red stuff on the screen, and people go, help. It's all failed. Just look at the first error. Yeah. I was doing that anyway, but I was not throwing the right type of exceptions.
Okay.
It's like, and then there was a debugging one today.
Okay.
Where it's like, I can set a breakpoint whenever there's an error. Okay. So rather than me thinking, there was an error there, right, now I'm going to have to go back and put a breakpoint or put a temporary try-catch block around it, you can just use set BS breakpoint or PS breakpoint even, not BS, because that would be BS. On the stack trace variable, I mainly tweeted it so that I'll remember it, because that's the reason I started tweeting all those years ago, was because I knew I'd put stuff out there, simply because 6 months, 12 months, sometimes 6 days later, I'd need the same information again, but I've forgotten it. Yeah. So I can go to Twitter, search for the term I want from Guy Leech, sometimes with a date range, and go and find it. So it's a knowledge base.
It's your technical diary.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if it helps other people as well, great.
I'm pretty sure it does.
You might be sure. I'm not so sure about you being pretty. I know it might come as a shock to you. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, but I can handle it. That's fine. So before we go on to talk about your sessions, just give a little brief background about when did you find out about PowerShell? When did you start using PowerShell? What was maybe some aha moments like, wow, that's really cool stuff?
Yeah, I'm quite a late starter with PowerShell. I wrote my first code in 1980, when I suspect some of your viewers weren't even born. Because I was
but there was already electricity and stuff?
There was electricity but electronic computers rather than steam-powered or mechanical ones, so that was good. Because I was a Unix developer for 6 years after I got my CS degree, before I got into the dark side of Windows, EUC and Citrix in 1995, and ever since then I've been doing scripts of one sort or another, or native C++ code, just trying to get everything to work together. I'd always say to people, the vendor solutions will give you a 95% coverage of what you needed, and then the custom bits are the bits you do with script or code or whatever else, with that extra 4.99% to get you 100, as close as you could to 100% of the solution. And for a long time, I was still using VBS or CMD, to do automations. I'm not going to do that by hand. I'm too lazy. Right, I'm going to write a script to do that. But people go, oh yeah, you need to look at PowerShell. And it was a classic machine gun salesman joke where there's a guy fighting some people off with a spear, and there's somebody coming to try and sell him a machine gun, which would be much more effective killing machine. Not kill people, I just kill processes. But I'm too busy. So I'm too busy to learn PowerShell. I need to do this now. And when I finally got into it, which was only 10 years ago, so 2014, it's like you get over that sort of hump of the syntax and realizing it's a bit different, but in some ways quite similar to some of the shell stuff I was doing back in the previous millennium. It's like, I could use this stuff. So back then I was working for a Citrix partner, so it was just for the automations around maybe installs, maybe troubleshooting as well. So that's another niche perhaps I've carved out for myself, is that of being able to troubleshoot, investigate Windows problems with PowerShell. I left that company because they got acquired, and I ended up working for a big company, which I don't like, having worked for a large telco in the UK when I was doing the Unix development work. So I like small companies. So I left that company in 2018. Since then, I've been doing PowerShell pretty much all day, every day, 8 days a week, mostly for software vendors. So they have their own end customers who, my PowerShell scripts will be part of their solution. So I don't actually deal with the end customer, end user much anymore. I just deal with these software vendors. But 3 or 4 a month, plus my my training and consultancy business, where I go and help people with PowerShell, run workshops, bring this code. Can we make it run any faster? Why does it keep breaking? Is it the right color? All that sort of stuff. It gives me a nice lot of variety. So, and you're an MVP? I'm let's reel these off for what they're worth, a Microsoft MVP, a Citrix CTP, a form of VMware vExpert, because I was told my VMware stuff wasn't VMware specific enough, because it was just fundamental PowerShell, which is kind of, we'll not go there. EUC Expert, which will be under the new Omnissa brand, which is what the VMware EUC part that didn't go to Broadcom, although it is currently in Broadcom, became. That program's still in its infancy. And Parallels VIPP, not to forget Parallels as well. Like Citrix, only a lot more cost effective. Yeah, I see. So, this is quite a number of titles you're but carrying. They're all similar things, which is my contributions to the community, either specific to their products or more generally, because I like to share. On my GitHub repo, across GitHub repos, because I try and make them Citrix or Microsoft or Azure specific. I must have sort of 150 plus scripts now. Hopefully, I know people do use from the feedback I get, which is these have been useful because generally they're ones that I put together to solve my own problems, whether they're problems of customers or whether they're problems I've had on my own laptop, and it's like I can't be bothered to do this manually. Let me write a script to do it. All right. Because that's what I do in my spare time. Now that I'm old and sad, when I sit at home, then I quite often get my laptop out and think, I'm going to write a script to do this. All right. For leisure, because I find that relaxing. Okay, that's interesting. It's sad, but interesting, yes. No, well, if it's good for you, then of course it's not sad. Oh, it's therapeutic for me. Yeah, I feel like if I have a blank ISC or maybe VS Code in one of these decades screen, and it's like it's a blank canvas, and an artist, I'm going to make something which is going to be useful for me and hopefully for other people as well. Awesome. As you just mentioned, like ISE and VS Code, were you surprised about the numbers that got
we saw on Monday during
I
the
was
opening session?
pleasantly surprised. I think, if I remember correctly, it was about 50-50.
Yes, so 50-50 between Windows PowerShell and PowerShell 7. Yeah. And there also was a question about VS Code versus ISE. And ISE, I think, was still 38% or something.
Right, okay. So
which I kind of like because I'm also still mainly using ISE.
The reason I'm still a dinosaur in that respect, other than other respects of my little T-Rex arms, is that I tried VS Code a couple of years ago and I kept getting crashes and other strange, inconsistent behaviour. It was frustrating. And it's like when you're trying to actually produce code, because I effectively get paid by the hour, then if the tooling is holding me up, then that's stopping me reducing the amount of money I can make. I'm not greedy, but there are people in my household who have requirements of money.
I can imagine. Yeah, so well for me, I'm using VS Code a little bit, and since I found this extension so that I can use regions, it becomes a little bit better because that was something. Because when I'm presenting at webinars, like with ISE, it's very simple, right? To just go step by step through all the regions.
You still have region comments in ISE without any extensions. That's what I do.
All right. Okay. Another solution. Nice thing again about PowerShell, right? There's no right or wrong. So many different options.
Absolutely. And you can make it have a dark mode as well, which is what I tend to use.
ISE?
Yeah, I didn't.
Really?
Have not,
Native?
You gave me excuses why you didn't go to my presentations. Yeah, my presentations were in dark mode, green text on a black background.
Wow!
And it's built in.
Okay.
I tend to do it to reduce battery drain when I'm on battery, but I do like it.
That's a good reason also to do that. Awesome stuff. So let's come back to the sessions that you did here in Antwerp. One was about data files.
Did I present? I don't know. It's more than a day ago.
I heard I even saw some posts on Twitter about people saying, "Wow, this was a."
He's not as stupid as he looks with his silly trousers on.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the content, maybe.
Not what I was looking like. The sartorial elegance of Guy Leech. Yeah. My first session on Tuesday afternoon was caching data in PowerShell. So showing people the various data types we could use, arrays and hash tables or dictionaries as they're known, for caching data locally, so you don't have to keep going to the cloud or SQL or Active Directory or whatever else to get that data. But of course, it's great caching it, but you then need to figure out how to efficiently look up that data as well. So I introduce people to the concept of sorted arrays and the binary search. So rather than start where you normally use where object, which would start at the beginning of the array and work forwards. It's okay if you've got a few dozen entries, but if you've got thousands or hundreds of thousands, then if you're going to start at the beginning of the array every time, it can be slow. So we can have hash tables where you look up on a key, but they can be quite slow to build as they get big and slow to look up. So the concept of the sorted array means you do a binary search where effectively when you've sorted the array, as long as your item that you're looking for is sortable, like you have a string name or a number, string name or string even. Like my demonstration on Tuesday was about virtual machine names I get from Azure. So as long as it's sortable, what you'll do with a binary search is look at the first half of the array or list. Is it in that half? Yes or no? Yes, it is. Okay, well, let's look in the first half. Let's look in...
Then you cut it.
Then you cut it. Yeah, so you're chopping it each time. So I forget what the math for any American viewers is, but probably 10 or 12 is the maximum number of searches you need to do. So if you've got 10,000 items in the array, wow, that's a lot quicker.
Yeah. Awesome. So that was one talk about
that was the other one was about the other data talk files. Was about processing file formats with PowerShell. So again, I had this much content and this much time, which is a typical Guy thing. I don't rehearse things. Go right. That's 29 minutes because the sessions were 30 minutes. I just try and cram as much in as I possibly can. Because normally I'll just keep talking until someone physically ejects me. But obviously here that's not fair to the next speaker. So made sure I did finish on the on the 45-minute mark, maybe 46. I apologise to the person after me.
I think that's okay.
You're taking a minute away from their preparation. So I started off that with text files, because most of the time we want to read a text file and then actually look at its content in terms of, with PowerShell particularly, turning it into objects. Yeah. So I had a log file, just happened to be the one I had in Notepad++, which was from my home vCenter when a backup failed. Typical sort of log, date, time, some other fields, a severity, and then a message. So I showed how we used a regular expression. Don't panic. We're not going to go into it now.
We could, but no, we don't.
Well, I think hopefully convinced people yesterday when the session was that regular expressions aren't actually as scary as people make out. It's one of those things I think people deliberately try and make scary. Oh, it's like the cats run across the keyboard, and it's like, they don't have to be like that. Yeah. I'm on a mission from God or to go and make regex acceptable, and people look at it and go, yeah, I'll just use regex for that, rather than regex, no, because I deal with simple regex, the keep it simple, the KISS approach. I don't want to deal with complex stuff. If there are complex ones I need, look aheads, negative look behinds, then I have to go and RTFM, as we say, or ChatGPT, Copilot, etc. They're supposedly quite good for this. But they're actually very easy to put together in PowerShell bit by bit, testing as you go. So you don't have to run the program. You just get the string, which is the line, typical line of your log file, and say, does it match this? And you match the first bit, and then you match the second bit. And eventually you get to the end and you've matched all the bits. And then we use a magic feature of regular expressions called groups, and in this case named groups, so we can automatically turn them into objects with properties. So if it was a date time at the start, we'd have a property called date time. Mm-hmm. So for each line, so I can quickly read 10,000 lines of a log file and then have 10,000 objects in an array with each of those properties. So the message, the info level, in this case, I think there was a function it came from internally, a process ID and a line number, and all those are available as properties of an object. So you can then further sort or go, what happened between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. when I got the error, or where are the errors, so I can just filter where the status is an error. So, but that technique, other than regular expression that I've got, and the code will be on GitHub just as soon as I pull my finger out and get it up there, can be reused for anything else. So it's generic code. Once you've defined a regular expression in a variable called regex, meaningful name, rather than R, wouldn't be a very good variable name. True. Then the rest of the code is generic, so people can, once they've got the regex, they can use exactly the same code for turning any text file into objects.
Okay, cool. So we would definitely have put the link to your repositories.
I'll duplicate the code, although it's a bad thing, into my own Guy Leech repo, but it'll be in the PSConfEU
as well.
repo as well, where all the presenters' code is. Because then I went on to delimited files. So a good example of that is IIS log files. When I asked how many people deal with IIS log files, about half the hands in the room went up. The room wasn't quite as full. It was standing room only on the Tuesday in one of the bigger rooms. Yesterday wasn't quite as full, but there was still certainly more than 2 people there.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yes, it's always nice when there's a couple of people, including myself. No, there were probably 40 or 50 there yesterday. So IIS log files, and even though they're space delimited, how we can actually use CSV, where C is for comma. That's for the Dutch people who don't seem to know what a comma is, because they use semicolons for CSV files. No, it's a CSV file, but hey, who am I to... Exactly. So, how we can use PowerShell to read IIS log files. So again, so we can easily see, how many errors were there? Or what was the error rate? What was the average response time of a request? Because again, this is stuff I've had to do in my job as a consultant, is look at IIS log files and go, why was it particularly slow for this person to get a response from, let's say, a Citrix logon, if it's a storefront server? Look, the requests were taking 15,000 milliseconds. That's not good. Right, let me cross-reference that time to event logs, which is another talk I gave, not unfortunately here, but maybe next time, is how to analyse and search event logs efficiently with PowerShell. I rarely use Event Viewer these days.
I think that was even a topic for the session that you did for our PowerShell Rhein-Neckar user group online, like 2 years ago.
Well, I'll duplicate the code, Oh, I can't remember what I did 2 days ago. Yeah.
All right.
I remember
Lucky you.
I remember presenting for your group, definitely. But all the sort of presentations blur into one.
Yeah, but I remember that one because it was about analyzing Windows stuff, and this was definitely part of it. Again, also this session is recorded, so everyone can go back and see all the good stuff that you already presented there.
And the not so good stuff, but hey.
Yeah, but I mean, it's up to you to, judge, or maybe not. Yeah. Awesome. You just mentioned AI and ChatGPT. So what's your take on AI and all these large language models? Are you deep into it? Are you using it rarely?
Yeah.
And then for what?
A bit like with my PowerShell, I was a late starter, and people would say to me, "Oh, you should use these AI things." And I was going, "No, I'm too busy. I need to churn out the code." And then when I started to use it, I mean, I suppose it's just it's like a search engine on steroids, and it will give me more data. So if I'm struggling for something, then I'll go and search. I've got a paid subscription for ChatGPT, also one for
OpenAI,
Ether Assist, Efficient Ether, which is a specific technical one.
All right.
I helped with the PowerShell side of that. Has a lot of Azure stuff built in as well. So when I get a problem now that I don't know how to do something, so it's something new, I will ask the AI. But unfortunately, my experience is that it doesn't always tell you something that actually works or tell you the truth. I mean, they call it, I think, hallucinations.
Yeah, I heard about
lies, damn lies. So, in fact, the sorting of the array and using the binary search that I mentioned for one of my sessions here, I asked it, how do I do this? Because I'd always thought about doing a binary search because I knew the concept and I didn't want to necessarily implement it myself. So I thought, it must be already implemented in some of these things. And I asked it, and it gave me some plausible looking code. So I tried the code, gave me an error, and it's like, it must be me. So I spent a bit of time trying to sort that out. And then finally it's like, no, this really isn't working. I'll go back to, I think it was ChatGPT, and say, I get this error. Oh, yes, sorry, yes, of course, yes, you do get an error if you try it this way. Do this instead.
Oh, okay.
So I just seen a note in my code in the GitHub repo. It says code, because I always credit code, because I use other people's code as well. I always give credit to where it's come from. But it's a bit difficult with ChatGPT because you don't really know where the original source is. But I put in, code from ChatGPT, brackets, second attempt, exclamation mark.
Okay.
So it got there in the end.
Okay.
But I think that's a problem in that you've got to know a certain amount to understand or to look at the answer and go, is this valid or not? Because I've had code come back from it which hasn't even been syntactically correct. It wouldn't even run, let alone give an error at runtime. It's like, oh, come on, how hard can it be? So my experience has been for mainstream stuff. So there's something perhaps I'm going to do that I haven't done before, but it's pretty mainstream. I ask it, then I get, you get a whole lot of answers. Like the Google search where you get pages of answers. Not like a Bing search where you'll get millions of pages regardless of whatever you type in. Although there is Bing AI now. I've not tried that. But when it's kind of more of an edge case, so it's something very specific, it tends to be either much vaguer or it just lies. But it's like a lot of people say, I think it's not going to replace programmers, but it is going to be a tool that programmers need to use. I mean, some of the stuff I've seen this week, the Copilot can do is like it's just going to save me time. The last thing I do generally before I release a script to GitHub or to a customer is put the help block at the start. And that's always a pain because it's documentation. No developers like WTFM, as I call it, right in the fudging manual. But Copilot can do it for me. It's like, okay, so I'll start using that. And that's integrated into VS Code. So will I start using VS Code for that? Or maybe I'll still just use ISE for developing, and when I'm finally there, because at the moment I've got a fiendish regular expression to convert my parameter block when I copy and paste it into parameter lines, but that's only half the problem. There's then examples and so on. So, I might do the code in ISE, and then finish it off in VS Code where it can do the comment block and other things for me.
So are you using DuckThink's AI module or modules as well?
Not yet, because I believe that's more a case of integrating it into your own code, and that's the step I haven't taken yet. That's probably something where I will go in terms of using AI myself in my code, because I'm doing for my customer control app, I'm doing a lot of scripts to look for, analyze, and maybe remediate Windows problems. But for some of them, it's a case of, okay, well, something happened at that particular time, and I've got a load of events around it. Because it's a generic issue, I might not know specifically what event to look for. So, hey, AI, here's a load of events which may have caused a problem for the user, that perhaps their logon failed. What do you think? So it's quite good at processing CSVs and chunks of data like that. So that might be something I do in the future.
All right. And how surprised were you when on Monday at the opening session they showed the Start AI shell? Did you know anything about that? Was this completely new?
That was completely new to me, but it's like, ooh.
Yes,
that
was
quite
my
interesting.
reaction too. Like, okay, now they're in the game, because many people were asking, like, okay, when does the PowerShell team does something in the AI space, right? And I talked to Steve Lee, and he said, they started it now very early, being public, getting feedback. So that's going to be an interesting thing as well. But then I was asking him, like, will this be part of the Copilot licensing and stuff like that? And he doesn't know. But it's going to be some kind of, it must be some kind of Copilot, right? Because that's
everything is for Microsoft.
Obviously the thing right now. So, right. Yeah, so for people who want to start using PowerShell, are there any recommendations, things that they should do right from the start, so they can be fast, efficient, having fun, getting results?
Well, I think the things you mentioned there, some of that will come with time. Having fun to start with, it's probably a bit of a tearing your hair out experience. It certainly was for me, and I was experienced coder in C, C++, C#, and it was like, I've got to do it this way. But there's so many good. The problem is knowing what's good and what isn't, but there's so many resources out there, both in terms of learning resources, in terms of the books, videos, but also sample code, because that's the way I started coding back in 1980. My late COBOL programming father used to bring a computer back, a Commodore PET, from his office some weekends with a cassette deck and some games on there. So we played the games, and then after a bit, it's like, I wonder if I can cheat in these games. And most of the games are written in BASIC. So then start looking at it, trying to understand the code, and changing the code, and think, perhaps I could write my own. And that's where the love goes. And this is exactly how I recommend anybody learns a language, is they think of perhaps a problem they want to solve. Might not be a real-life problem, it's just something they want to perhaps automate, I think is the buzzword these days, but just do. And there may even be a script already that does it, but it's think, how would I approach it? Or maybe get that script. Because even if I start a brand new script for one of my customers or a community script, then I'll still look to see if somebody's done it already, because there's no point reinventing this wheel thing. And what colour would make it? So somebody may have done not exactly, but similar to what you've done before. So go and get that code, look at it, understand how it works, and any code that you use, even if it exactly says it's a fit for what you want, you should always check in a sort of test, sandboxed environment before you run it on your production system with 10,000 AD users, in case it accidentally or deliberately does something that the author hadn't intended. Which is why I always put support for things like minus what if and minus confirm in my scripts that do anything non-passive. So before it starts deleting stuff, say, are you sure? Hoping that people might actually read the message. But people can look at the code that they download, understand what it does, and then maybe tweak it to do what they want. I would strongly suggest they do that rather than just taking the code and going, I'm going to run with that. Same if the code, whether the code comes from an existing repo on GitHub or wherever else, or even it comes from ChatGPT. Try and understand the code, because that will help. Because yeah, as I said before, I don't think ChatGPT is going to replace programmers.
Yeah, you still need to be able to check if it's correct and if
absolutely,
it's,
So, and if you want to make those little tweaks that perhaps the AI isn't going to help you with, or perhaps where you might know better than AI even, because AI
exactly.
really is only just taking stuff from real intelligence underneath, but sometimes removing the need for real intelligence.
Absolutely,
which will suit some people. No names.